Like many others, I thought Clawbringer is one of the worst characters in all of Wonderlands, just purely off the fact that the class doesn't seem like all that great in general, and the power was definitely swinging in the direction of characters like Rayborn and Spellshot. But after some multi-classing and working with melee weapons, I realized this can be one of the strongest characters in the entire game if you were wanting to do tanking and just never dying at all. What's going on, everybody? Byrdman here with another Wonderlands build. Today I'm going to be showing off my Claw-Zerker build, aka Clawbringer the Invincible. This character is an absolute pleasure to put together with one of my viewers, Exalted Panda. Make sure you're checking them out and give them just like a thumbs up in our chat whenever we're doing builds over on my Twitch channel. We kind of been collaborating with this, working on this for the past couple of days, and finally came up with a very comprehensive melee build that essentially makes you never die. I mean, the only time you're ever really going to die is to just crazy spaghetti mayhem scaling that unfortunately is still ravenous in Wonderlands, but I digress. It is a very, very strong build. You are able to do nothing but melee damage, and it's just so much fun. But before we get into the video and the overview, make sure you follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. Starting my streams every single day, starting at noon Eastern Standard Time. So swing on by, let's do some viewer runs and hang out. Make sure you give a thumbs up on this video and follow me over on Twitter for updates on the channel and to know whenever my code with G Fuel is 30% off. Typically it's 10% off, but it can be 30 sometimes. All right, now let's hop right on into the overall build view. All right, let's talk about the gear that we have for this setup. So first off, we're going to be using a live wire as our main weapon. This is mainly only going to be shot to use against like flying enemies or something like that, but the chaining ability that is on the weapon is really nice. Not only because it's able to soften up enemies around you, but it also works with our melee weapon. So as we are swinging our melee, it will start doing that chaining effect, doing gun damage to other people around us. That's so cool. And it's also great because it works well with dark magic efficiency to essentially keep up our health. So this is a really nice utility weapon. Again, you can use this as a regular gun against like enemies that are flying up in the air, and it will work just fine. I just mainly use it again as a utility. Going into our melee weapon though, we are going to be using the Fatebreaker of Cleaving. This is so nice because the Fatebreaker perk reads melee attacks create 3 lightning projectiles to restore ward equal to 100% of the damage dealt, essentially keeping our ward at max capacity all the time, adding to that tank style part of the gameplay. We also have Vampire just to ensure that we're getting even more ward and health at the same time. So this is an amazing weapon. I really like the enchantment on it as well, where we're getting 10% melee damage for just short duration after each consecutive melee attack. Really nice because it's essentially consecutive hits, but on a melee weapon, absolutely insane. It's just going to keep up high damage, and you're going to keep up that high ward all at the same time. Going into our gear, we're going to be using different things that use melee damage, dark magic efficiency. That's the main stuff I would definitely focus into, just because, again, more dark magic efficiency is going to get chained with the live wire and essentially keeping them alive all the time. And then obviously melee damage is melee damage. Looking at our shield though, we're going to use the Mace Wardu. This is really nice because it has a high capacity. The enchantment we have on it is whenever your health goes below 50%, you start regenerating health and do more damage. And then the ability on the Mace Wardu itself is whenever enemies damage you with melee attacks, they get hit back as well. So really just great. It really works for this the entire setup because we're going to keep up that ward all the time, essentially ensuring that any enemy that punches us is going to get some damage back at them as we continuously produce damage on top of them as well. Really solid shield. I really like it. Moving on to our class item though, we're going to be using one that has an extra point in a blast chill. We'll talk more about blast chill here in a second, but I think this is an absolute must just for the huge just AoE damage it's able to do. I have all damage dealt, melee damage, and max health on it, and then converting 30% of our damage dealt as dark magic damage. So essentially, again, adding to that health tank style of the build, we're just nuking people with this. It's absolutely insane. I love it. But looking at our amulet, we're going to do one again with frost damage, Brrzerker, all damage dealt, and shield capacity. And then activating our action skill will start recharging our ward over 2 seconds. Again, I guess I don't really have to explain it much. Essentially, everything is ensuring that our shield is going to stay up and we're going to just be an unkillable, invincible tank. And then finally, we have our Buffmeister on this, just because, honestly, I like the Buffmeister because it just is a good complement to any setup, whether you're using guns or melee. I do have a purple spell on here that's a sigil that will give you health plus damage. You can swap over to that. It's really nice for just like popping on top of a group of enemies, but it doesn't last that long. And also I just think Buffmeister just gives you this that flat damage and flat all around boost the entire character, so it's really nice to have. Moving on to our skill tree, obviously our 2 classes here, the Clawbringer and Brrzerker. The class feed for each of them is the Wyvern for the Clawbringer, so that guy's just going to fly around, do some fire breath, and any damage that we boost up is also going to go to our companion. Really great for just, again, softening up enemies around the area and just giving us a little bit more damage. But for Brrzerker, probably the more important one, on our action skill activation, our Fate Maker is going to be Enrage, and that enragement will give us bonus frost damage. The enrage will turn off if we were going to save our soul, but activating our action skill when already enraged restores a portion of the rage timer. It's 15 seconds and it's base 10%. We obviously get a boost of that in our hero stats, but I really like this because it combos well with the Storm Dragon's Judgment action skill, where we're chucking that hammer that's doing lightning melee damage to enemies, and whenever it like lands on an area, it does lightning ability damage. We really like this just because it has a short cooldown, and we're also able to constantly activate Enrage. So really solid combo between these two classes. You can do a lot of melee damage with this as well. It's just really cool. I loved seeing this from the previews when it first got announced, just because throwing hammer, I'm a big Destiny fan as well. And I was always a big fan of like Titan throwing hammer. So having something like this that kind of has that same kind of vibe to it is really interesting. Looking at our skill tree for Clawbringer, we're going to be going in max stacks for Radiance, so we have high ward. We're going to be max stacks in Oath of Thunder for melee damage, and our Wyvern Companion deals bonus lightning damage. We really like that all around. Plus stacks into Dragon Aura for extra elemental damage. And then we kind of had 3 points left over that I put into these 3 slots right here just to kind of complement our Wyvern while also getting some extra like little boosts. So we get some damage reduction out of Storm's Breath, and then we also get some gun damage out of Firebolt. But we really like Blasphemous Favor just purely off the fact that we get that random orb of fire that shoots out whenever we get a gun kill, which is surprisingly a lot of time because of the chaining damage from the live wire, and then a lightning orb that shoots out and hits enemies whenever we get a melee kill, which is practically all the time. So really cool setup all around here. Over in our Brrzerker tree, which kind of have probably the most meat in it, max stacks in Essential Frost for the extra frost damage, max stacks in Savagery for longer enraged duration, and also melee damage. This one's huge. It's a must-have. It's really nice, though, because we have a base of 15 seconds for our rage, but this adds an extra 7 seconds, so 22 seconds, and that's more than enough for us to have time in between to chuck our Storm Dragon and then essentially just get it right back. Icebreaker, whenever enemies are frozen or slowed, which is a lot of time because of the frost damage we're doing, we're getting some extra damage out of them. Old Ways is an absolute must. The Fate Breaker deals bonus damage and gains increased damage reduction the closer they are to an enemy, which is all the time right in front. So essentially we're getting a 30% damage boost while also having damage reduction. Really great for just our hide shield and everything else. I did 1 point into Cold Snap just so we can essentially get down the tree, but essentially we are getting a 3% movement speed and frost efficiency, which gets doubled pretty much the entire time because we're always enraged. So again, you guys can do the math on that. It's pretty insane. 1 point in Relentless Rage. So those few times we do go in to save our soul, whenever we come out of it, we're able to get our rage reactivated. We got 5 points in Iron Squall for a super high melee attack speed, which again, whenever we're enraged, it's all doubled, which is practically all the time. And then finally, we have to talk about Blast Chill. So I mentioned before, you wanted to at least get 1 point into this from your class item, because it reads, whenever the Fate Maker deals melee damage all the time to an enemy, there's a chance to release a Frost Nova dealing frost ability damage to nearby enemies. This is great for just AoE damage, and it's based off of your melee damage. So Frost ability damage, 50% of melee damage dealt. We're already having high melee damage with this setup, so we're always able to just crunch. It's typically only 25%, but again, since we have that extra point, it's up to 50. If you're going through a Chaos Chamber and you end up doing one like the Butt Stallion Blessings, you can get another point to this, and it's 75. It's absolutely stupid. I love this setup because of just crazy melee damage we're able to do. Finally, a quick look into our hero stats. Obviously, we have the highest percentage of Brrzerker for 55% bonus frost damage. We really like that, and it also gets 55% bonus to Blast Chill. Clawbringer, we have a couple little things throughout here that give you that 15% bonus, but I definitely would say focus into Brrzerker. And then when it came down to our stats here, I definitely think just maxing out your spell and maxing out your health is really important, and just maybe going a little bit into skill cooldown, but honestly, the throwing hammer has a really low cooldown as is, so I really wouldn't worry too much about it. Thanks so much for stopping by this video, guys. Hope you really enjoy this build. Though this is going to be over in my Discord in the save file section, so feel free to swing on by there and snag this. Remember, that's pretty much just going to be for PC only. But I do have some people that are working on getting some stuff over on the console as well, so just be patient. And if you have your own save files, feel free to drop it in there. The way that save files are set up in this game right now is a little wonky, so the more original saves we have, the better. So definitely share for everyone. Definitely avoid putting any modded gear or anything in there. I don't really think anybody's got anything modded at this point yet, but I digress. This build was a whole lot of fun. I've definitely been using it a lot just because, again, I don't really notice myself dying all that much, and it's really just fun to just, you know, get to just smack things constantly. I'm going to be working on some other melee builds here soon. Going to be testing out some stuff with companions in melee and how they interact, but we'll see how that goes. But it's just been an absolute blast getting to do all these different new build videos with you and everything. We're finding new interactions every day, so if you guys find something cool, wacky, interesting, make sure you as well let me know. I'd be definitely interested in checking it out, and being like kind of like Exalted Panda, we work on this build together and get a little shout out in a video. So definitely exciting stuff going on in Wonderlands. But make sure to follow me over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Byrdman778. Again, I'm doing streams every single day starting at noon Eastern Standard Time, so swing on by, let's play some games together. Make sure you're giving a thumbs up on this video. Really helps out with YouTube algorithm, and definitely comment down below, again, some setups that you're working on as well and how you think the build is working out for yourself. And finally, follow me over on Twitter, twitter.com/Byrdman778 to get updates on the channel and know whenever my code for G Fuel is 30% off. They actually just announced the Tiny Tina's Wonderlands flavor is a cherry vanilla flavor. It sounds absolutely amazing, so I'm so excited to get to try it out myself. But make sure you're using code BYRD, BYRD at checkout. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.